Okay, so today on the Ed of Ed, I thought I'd go over the progress I've made on my Monroe CST mechanical calculator here. I've gotten it to the point where it's getting closer to a functional machine. Previous episodes I've worked on things like getting the carriage slide to work, or the carriage lift, or basic functions like addition and subtraction and so forth. Now I've gotten as far as I've got the keyboard in, and that allows me access to these extra functions that were not available with the keyboard off. And besides, I didn't really want to work on them until addition and subtraction were basically sorted out. So now with this guy I can do multiplication. Of course, in all working on this guy, I've kind of discovered that this machine is basically an economy model of the contemporary machine, the 6N machine. The 6N in 1958 would have been about a $700 machine, so factor in inflation, and that was not a cheap machine. So for several $100 less, for about $500, you can get this machine, which still had the fully automatic division, which is probably more valued by the original owner of this machine. But it doesn't have the fully automatic multiplication. You can see in the plastic molding, you can see where the multiplication button would have been. Like I say, the 6N would have had this extra register. You could see on the machine various points where this extra register and mechanisms might have been if it was equipped with several $100 worth more of hardware, apparently. So this machine is a semi-automatic multiplication machine, which really basically is it's still the way you would have multiplied with a mechanical calculator clear back in the 1920s. Really, the only extra functionality it has, as far as I can gauge the semi-automatic nature, really is that this button will facilitate clearing the mechanism a little bit more. In the 6N, you type in your number. You hit this button that would have been here, it puts that value in this register. If I understand right, it'd be this register. Maybe it's one of these, I don't know. Could be this one though. And then it would clear the keyboard, you type in your next number, and then you would hit this button, which apparently has the extra functionality. And with that, it would then actually do the automatic multiplication, and it would take care of shifting the carriage and so forth and give you the value. If indeed I'm even correct on that. On this machine, what this guy will do is it'll take care of basically. Normally, when you do your multiplication or addition and subtraction, you would clear. You could either clear just the upper display, the lower display, or the keyboard, or you can hit all buttons at the same time, and it'll do all three at the same time. What it wouldn't do is move the carriage back automatically. So this guy basically just adds the extra function of moving the carriage back. And like I say, I could even be wrong on it for the more advanced machine. So basically, how do you do semi-automatic multiplication with this fellow? With addition or subtraction, normally you would have the button, this button in this position, and you type in your number. For instance, that, and put that in. Got to motorize this guy still here. Normally you would hit a function button and the motor would spring to life and just do its thing. I still have to crank. You type in your number, it puts the value in. You have this counter here, it basically shows the number of machine cycles, and it clears the keyboard automatically. So you can then type in your next number, which is typically what you're going to do with addition and subtraction, right? They're going to be different numbers. And then, like I say, you could clear that value by itself, or you can clear that one, and you could, I guess it already cleared the keyboard, so I guess I need to do that. That was the whole point behind that. So in repeat mode, which is what this is, you type in your number, let's say 159 times 34. I'm going to double check it with my electronic calculator, just to make sure everything's good. And that's the other thing is, these old machines, you have to figure out which column you're typing in versus necessarily what column you have here. Modern calculators you're familiar with just peck away, and it just automatically puts in the value on the register. here I type in, let's say 159. Well, nothing's happened just yet. This hasn't gotten into the register until I add it into the register. So I hit that, added that value into the register. The R, what it does is, the repeat is basically, it just doesn't erase the keyboard. So that value stays in the keyboard and you keep adding that into this register. In order to take and add or multiply my number of 159 times 34, in order to get the 34 in there, I have to clock it in on this register here, this basically this machine cycle counter. So I can either hold the button down and wait for 34 machine cycles later and I'm done, or I could hold the button down and get the 4 of 34. Now I can move over a power pin and I can put the 3 in. And there, so I've multiplied 159 by 34 and I got my answer of 5,406. So it's kind of nice. Electronics and heavy iron machines still agree. Mathematics is still a constant in the universe, and the wetware didn't have to do a whole lot of work other than push buttons, in this case do a lot of hand cranking. So the semi-automatic nature of the multiplication, basically in this case, comes down to this button. What he does now is he will clear this display, or this keyboard, clear these registers, and shift this carriage back. So that's kind of the extra feature there, which, a lot of that functionality is there already. They were able to just key that all together by a little bit more hardware here. So this might have been more of a sales feature. It does make it a little more convenient, but this mechanical calculator, at least when it comes to multiplication, the Model K mechanical calculator I have, which I have yet to do any work on, I suspect you do it exactly the same on that one, because it is hand power. You really do have to hand crank it. So on this guy, it would be kind of nice to demo doing maybe a multiplication with a decimal place. I'll show that real quick. So I've cleaned this guy up pretty good. I'm going to put this cover on, which still has a lot of the original DNA from when I found this machine, so I've got to clean that up a little bit, but it'll make seeing the numbers a little bit easier, so I'll put that in there. And then what I have is this these little pointers here that are decimal indicators, and this keyboard here, this little wheel will show a little red line in the keyboard. The machine itself doesn't know anything about these things. It's just merely for human convenience. So let's do a decimal value. We're going to do like 167.23 times 87.23, we'll say. Well, that number's the same. Let's just do something a little different here. A little 4 or 5. Okay. So I'm going to do 167.32 by times 87.45, and let's see if we can get this in here. So gray column is kind of handy. We got three digits there. 167.32. Enter that in, and then I got to put in the 87.45. So first I'm going to put in the 5. Okay, I got that. I move over 1 unit, and I'm going to put in the 4. It goes a little faster with the motor, obviously. I put in the 7, and I have to hold down the button to do it. 7, and then I move the carriage over 1, and I put in 8. And there we go. And then multiplication, you add your decimal locations. I got 2 decimal locations there, 2 decimal locations there, 4 decimal locations there. So the numbers add together are in agreement with each other. 14,632.134. What's kind of nice is in some instances you could say this one's more accurate machine because it doesn't round off. In this case it just happened to be a 0, but this machine will sometimes round off a digit, whereas this guy doesn't know anything about rounding off. So basically that is how you do multiplication on a Monroe CST Mechanical Calculator. Next time I'll thrash out trying to figure out the division. I've done a little bit of work on it, and it's kind of a nightmare, as you might imagine. I have to figure that out, and hopefully we'll get to that next. So thanks for watching.